Hello everybody, welcome back to our little tarot corner. Allie from Tarot here with another tarot VR. So lately I've seen this new tarot VR, thank you to the lovely Marlene, and it is hashtag tarot to the extreme or hashtag tarot extremes. I've seen them labeled both ways. She kind of put both hashtags in her title. But either way, it is basically a VR where she compares decks for 7 different categories and kind of puts them head to head and achieves both showing a little bit of her collection and talking about the uses that she gets out of her decks. I first saw this video, actually, it was not Marlene's original video, but it was Krissie Bentley's video. I will also link that below, as well as the original by Marlene. But I saw Krissie's first and I was like, okay, this is a whole lot of fun. Like I need in on this one. So here we are. Let's just dive right in. So the first category, I will apologize as well in advance. I may duplicate some decks by other people solely if I believe and agree with their placements and if that was what I was going to use too. Anyway. First category is minimalist versus maximalist. And for the minimalist, I actually chose a recent deck to my collection. It is the Monochromatica Tarot. And this is by Bethany Hamilton. And yeah, I could be mispronouncing that, and I'm so sorry if I am. But so I backed her Anatomize Oracle on here, or on Kickstarter, not on YouTube. Allie? Okay. I just recently backed her Anatomize Oracle on Kickstarter, and this was an add-on. It's her Monochromatica Tarot. And as the name might suggest, it is a lovely monochromatic deck where you have triangles and some simple art. It's done in this incredible like pencil sketch style, which I find really awesome for a deck like this. My original, oh gosh, she's so beautiful, isn't she? Love Queen of Wands. It kind of originally made me think of Joanna Powell Colbert as the as her kind of art style, although just in black and white, but with the pencil maybe? I don't know. That's just what it made me think of. But yes, this is the Monochromatica Tarot. So this is my minimalist deck. I had another one that I was going to put in this category, but I decided to choose this one. My maximalist category, or deck. Again, this is a deck that other people have chosen as well, but it's just such a perfect fit, and it is the Spirit Keepers Tarot Revelation Edition by Benabel Wynn, backed by Moonlit Fae, shout out. The reason, which I'm sure if you've seen any of the Spirit Keeper Tarots, you will understand, but this is the back. Just, oh, love that gold. Just like her other decks, these are very detailed, but this also has the added benefit fact of being entirely in color. Her previous decks, she's had a black and white one and she's had a sepia tone, but this is her first complete color deck. And if you get into the detail, I mean, even things that look like solid colors are patterns. That's getting way out of focus, sorry, but you see what I mean. So not only is the deck art detailed, but she also pulls in astrology, she pulls in I Ching, she pulls lots of references in from around the world, and that's just the deck. You can obviously just read it as a Rider-Waite-Smith, but there is so much more to it. It's just incredible. it's very intimidating because there's a lot here. And I can't bring myself to just want to use it as a plain RWS for now. She also brings in Kabbalah. I can't bring myself to just use it as an RWS because I feel like that would be doing it a disservice. Although she does mention like you can just read it that way if you want to keep it simple. But there's just more. And so again, that's just the deck. But the reason why I picked this for my maximalist was because with every deck, as she has her previous, she offers a book of maps. This thing, like, it's massive. And this one is also full color. You can spend years learning about this deck and about all the different things that Benna Bowen has put into it, from the artwork to the culture that she used to the history. See, there's the I Ching. I mean, yeah, she phrases it herself. It is a high school history book that she wishes she had. So definitely a maximalist there. So there's minimalist and maximalist. Next category is daytime versus nighttime. So I don't necessarily classify decks using this. I don't really use certain ones in the day and certain times in the night, with a few exceptions. So this is my daytime deck, what I'm going to consider my daytime deck, and my nighttime deck. My daytime deck is the Tarot de Carlotides, Tarot de Carlotides. I've never learned the correct way to pronounce that, but it is a Fournier deck, another back by Moonlit Fae. If you can't tell, I'm a fan. These are the backs, and I enjoy this one because it's nice and bright. It's got fun details. There's some pop culture. There's something for everybody here, and it's a very easy deck to work with as well. The guidebook is in multiple languages, and it's just a good old time. It's a fun, sassy little deck. Look at this tower. It's pink, and there's a dragon. I chose this cupcake fabric for this bag because there's a card in here that has cake, and I think I may have even just passed it. But it just feels like, and then you get that, like a kind of sexy in a weird way card. And then you have oysters and vodka for the 10 of cups. I mean, it's rather adult, not scary adult. Can't, kids would be frightened or anything, but it's mature. But, I lost my train of thought. Let me find the card. There's one card in here that basically just kind of summed the deck up for me, and that's what I based my pouch selection on. And it is here. It's the 2 of cups. So you have 2 teacups with some cake and like a fountain, or I guess that's the very fancy teapot, but tea party with cake, sweets, it all just kind of meshed well for me. So that is my daytime deck, the Tarot de this. I'm horrible. I should fire myself. And then my nighttime deck, I've had for a minute, and I mainly use it at nighttime just because it is one that I like to go nice and slow with and ponder. I definitely don't do big spreads with this deck. Bunch of little extras here, and yeah, I use it at nighttime when I'm kind of winding down, and that is the Allie, get it together, Jesus. That is the Mysteries of the Black Madonna Tarot by Hedian Grobler. So, funny story, these are the backs. I actually have her other deck, the Mysteries of Mary Tarot, coming currently. I just recently ordered it, And I feel as though that will be more of a daytime deck, but this one is definitely one that, as I said, I like to go slow with and take my time. And I'm definitely not going to use this deck to lay out a big spread or even like a 4-card spread. I think 2 cards from this at a time, personally for me, is way more than enough at a time. You can see the art on it is very intricate and detailed. She's renamed all the suits, so I believe the Holy Trees is wands. And you have Ace of the Black Veil, which... oh, swords. And then Holy Wells, which are cups. Actually, trees might be pentacles. Oh, no. And then living stones are pentacles. Okay, I didn't screw it up. Go me. That shows you how I kind of use I almost truly use this more as an oracle deck, and because I don't make spreads with it, I love the messages that I get from it. I'm not, as I previously stated, an overly religious person, which is kind of ironic that I have a Black Madonna tarot deck with a Mother Mary deck on the way. But having been raised, as I've also talked about before, in that kind of Catholicism type of environment, in a way it is still comforting to me. And I draw comfort from the archetypes of the mother. And so to me, I can kind of, and this may sound really, really weird, but I can kind of look past the religion of it and take what I need, I guess, to summarize. And what's really neat about her decks is these are all handmade altars that she created out of true material, like photo frames, and she compiled all these materials and like glued these little figures in there, and like, so each one of these took so much work. I mean, look at that. Yeah, so anyway, it is definitely a deck I respect. It is a deck that I treasure and go slow with. It is a deck that I use at nighttime. It comes, when it comes, it has a little prayer card here and some other little information bits, and another little string device. I'm so not trying to be insulting, but it's a little thing to put around your neck. Okay, sorry. So I'm not lying. This, it's I know it's an item for protection, but anyway, comes with that too. So that is the Mysteries of the Black Madonna Tarot as my nighttime deck. Allie girl, you gotta speed it up. Okay, as per usual, we're just gabbing, you know, we're just chatting. So the third category is best and worst shuffle. Again, this is one that I'm going to be making some repetition. The best shuffle, I have my Tarot Volatile, and the worst shuffle, I have the Talisman or Telesma Tarot. Now, I will say, I adore this deck. I very, very much do. There's a reason why I label it just my worst shuffle, but let's start with the Tarot Volatile. I've talked about this deck multiple times. This is the newest version, and it's a little chunk. I'm actually working with the Vessels suit separately at the moment, but it's linen. It glides like a breeze. I actually was just shuffling this all night as Josh and I were watching TV and watching some movies, and I just sit and mindlessly shuffle with it because it's just so perfect. Yeah, I'll do that from the side just because it's uber satisfying. I am so excited that actually worked. Anyway, Tarot Volatile. We've all seen it. We've all talked about it. It is kind of a fine art deck, in my opinion. It's kind of, I don't know, kind of grungy in a way to me. And definitely a deck that does not play around. But I love it, and I love everything that the creators have brought into it, from the writer-smith friendly interpretations to the wild settings in like the jungles and, you know, and cliffs, and just, but also kind of the tie to the medieval ancient civilizations, and then wild, I don't know, it's everything. The cardstock is everything. It's everything. And that's the Terra Volatile. Then, my worst shuffle. So, this, again, is the Talisma or Telesma Tarot by Tara Cochran. And the only reason why I label this my worst shuffling deck is because I have tiny little baby bear hands, as we've discussed before. And this deck is massive. Like, in comparison to the Terra Volatile, which is pretty much standard tarot size. Just grab my top card here. It's massive. It's very fun to use. And again, I love this deck, but I definitely cannot riffle it. I can only, which this is my preferred method since I normally do riffle, I can only side riffle it. And it still works, but sometimes not. And there just is no other way. I mean, I can kind of overhand it a little, but with the height of them, it just makes it a challenge. So normally it's a side riffle thing. Yeah. See, it doesn't, there we go. It doesn't really ever lay perfectly. So that is one of my worst shuffle decks, but really, again, only because it's large. I mean, I'm infatuated with this deck. I love it. I love the collage style. I love that it is more like an imperfect collage style. Like, she literally just took magazine clippings and combined them to make these images, which it takes talent to do that because it sounds so basic and so easy. But I mean, that's clean cutting around these objects and then placing them and then figuring out what symbols and objects you need. Like look at this hermit card, like a backdrop of a canyon. I love it. And then you have an exploding volcano in the background with a little fox head and people riding a ferret backwards. And then down here you got this like pilot skull smoking with a shotgun, like and then this Empress card really reminds me of the Moonchild Tarot, or like the Starchild Tarot, something ethereal like that. But anyway, yeah, this deck is full of sass and I love her, but she's damn hard to shuffle. And that is the Talisma Tarot by Tara Cochran. Go ahead and put this back because I just don't want to pick up a mess later. Okay. So our next category, category number 4, is confronting versus comforting. And these were kind of easy picks for me. So my confronting and comforting. Confronting is a deck that is no surprise to any of you who have been here for any amount of time. And that is my Bohemian Gothic. I did a reading for someone just the other day, and she decided to go ahead and lay out some truths that I'm sure my client would not have preferred me bring up or talk about, and it was kind of an uncomfortable thing. She was open, my client was open to it, but just it's not something that I would have brought up myself. It kind of felt invasive to share, so I was just like, ooh, so I hate to say this or ask this, but did this happen? And she was like, Yeah. And I was like, okay, Miss Bogo here, she does not mince words. She does not give a single crap about your feelings. She's going to tell the truth. She's going to bring out the truth, even if you don't want to look at it, because it's all important. Whether or not it's easy, that's not really her problem. So, she can be very confronting. And I love her for it. That's the Bohemian Gothic Tarot. I can't wait till they come out with their newer version. Do I need all these decks? No. But also yes, you know what I mean? Anyway, so that's the confronting deck. Now the comforting deck is actually a deck that I don't know that I've really talked about, but it's kind of everywhere. It's a deck that I have multiple copies of, and that is the Morgan Greer Tarot. This one is my tin version because it was closer. So I find this deck really comforting because it's actually going to tie into, funny that this is the card, it's going to tie into a tarot tag I'm debating on creating or starting. I kind of want to get some more friends' input on it first before I decide to try it, but this deck reminds me of my dad. And my dad and I are best buds. Like, he's my dude, right? I'm very much a daddy's girl, and that has not changed from the time I've been little. And so something about this deck always, I think it's the mustaches, because my dad's got a rockin' mustache, and when he was younger, people like made fun of him all the time for it. So this deck just makes me feel like I'm talking to my dad, and I really like it for that fact. So it's very level-headed for me. It's very I can actually hear my dad's voice when I read this deck. It's like, now sis, is that really what should have happened? Like, okay, yes sir. But it's that paternal energy. I don't know, something about it just makes me feel like I'm, confiding in my dad. So this to me is a very comforting deck. All right, next category is the everyday versus every so often deck. That also is easy. So lately I have, sorry for this one. I'm sorry, but I'm not sorry. Hello hair. Struggles of having long hair and not pulling it back. My everyday deck is a deck I showed not too long ago on here. I am still loving using it, and that is my Earth Tarot Outgrow Edition. Another linen cardstock deck, but I just really, really like this deck. I can use it for anything. It's not a difficult reader, doesn't keep secrets. It's it's just fun and easy on the eyes. I like the muted color palette. It's not too intense to stare at for long periods of time and do longer readings with or anything. So I really dig it. I have not been getting enough of it lately, so yeah. I like the plants. It makes my Virgo heart very happy. The earth. But yeah, this is the Earth Tarot Outgrow Edition. No, Overgrow Edition. Allie, I don't need to film videos at night. That's what we're learning today. So that's been one of my current everyday decks. My every so often deck, as I said, I apologize for this one. It is very, very hard to come by, very much so out of print, but it is the Tarot of Delphi by J.D. Hildegard Hinkle, the same creator of the Majestic Earth Tarot. I completely lucked out with this deck. I found someone selling it on eBay, not for cheap. And the gentleman selling it was super, super kind and very willing to work with me on kind of more of a payment plan type situation, so I could make some payments to him over several weeks so that I could buy it from him, and I got it and it was still sealed. So I have been the only person aside from the manufacturers that have touched this deck, and I realize that that is bananas lucky. But I spent months looking for this. But this is just one of those decks that it's so special. It's so special, and it has a life of its own. It's very much obviously historic, and it's one that I don't bother too much, only because I want to keep it as close to perfect as I can so that it will last. I cannot imagine how I would feel if anything happened to this deck. So I won't belabor it too long, but as you can see, it's a very, very gorgeous deck, and I love her. I love her so much. It hurts. Okay. I'm sorry. It's an every so often deck. She comes out on special occasions, but that is my Tarot of Delphi by J.D. Hildegard Hinkle. The next category is it is the overrated versus the underrated. So I do have to apologize. I didn't even pick decks for this, like physically. But I can tell you what I will use. Let me grab them. Okay, so overrated and underrated. So this is a lovely bag made by Krista at Crochet Witch Tarot, and she custom made this bag for me for the deck, and that is the Trionfi della Luna Illustrated Pips by Patrick Valenza. Now, I've heard many people talk about this deck and how it was a FOMO. Like it was, you didn't, okay, pause. Look at this match. It's so good. Anyway, so many people were talking about how this was kind of a major FOMO thing in the community because he didn't share any images ahead of time. And it was kind of like, go ahead and pre-order and then you'll see the cards when you receive the deck. But you know, it was a limited print, and so I thought I really want to get one. Like, I love my Deviant Moon Tarot, and this one is more like daytime. The original one was the original like Marseille style, and I was like, it's more of a daytime version, and they're doing illustrated pips. I'm not a huge Marseille person. I have like maybe two or three in my whole collection. And so I was like, I don't want the Trionfi della Luna because it's Marseille. But then he came out with this version, like I said, and everybody was freaking out about it, and I didn't want to miss it, and so I got it. I very rarely pull this one out. I don't very often at all. And I think there's a lot of people who kind of share that opinion that are frustrated about it just because, I mean, yeah, it's great, but I don't know. It didn't feel the nicest, maybe, the way that it was kind of brought about, but I still bought it, so I don't know. Anyway, that is the Trionfi della Luna Paradoxical Edition. Now, my underrated deck is another deck that is recent to my collection. It's the Urban Tarot, so by Robin Scott. I dig this deck, man. It is, it's another one of those that's really raw and real life, and I have liked that a lot lately. The back's kind of like a subway map. Very cool. These are kind of larger cards too. They're kind of taller and a little bit thicker. So it is a Thoth-based deck based in like New York City. And it is not a touchy feel-good deck, but I appreciate it for that. This deck reminds me of like walking around Manhattan in the heat of summer when like the stinky trash is piling up on the curb and you got the steam from the city grates and everybody's just hustling and bustling, and it is what it is. It's the city, man, and I love it. I love it that, I mean, look at this temperance card. Look at that. She painted the temperance card. Hello. And then you've got the mixing down here, literally. Chef's kiss. But, yeah. I like it a lot. I like it a lot. I love, this is one of my favorite cards. It's the Queen of Cups, and she's a therapist. And you're sitting in her office, and you're in water. Like, there are koi fish swimming around her ankles. How cool. Like, water's pouring in from her window. And she's got several glasses of water, like glasses in a pitcher of water, and she's just ready. Her jacket even is like a pond, and the wrinkles in the fabric are like ripples in water. Like, it's so good. It's so good. And the Knight of Discs, which in the Thoth, the knights are the kings. So essentially the King of Pentacles being a gourmet chef. Hello. So awesome. I love it. I love it's modern. I love that it's grungy. I love that it is very much so a city deck that if you've ever visited New York, it's something else. I don't know that I could live there. I don't think I can make it there. But I do enjoy visiting. I definitely do enjoy visiting. So that is, look at this devil card, chilling in a toilet stall. That is the Urban Tarot, and I really think it's an underrated deck. Okay, our final category, we are almost done, is light work versus shadow work. So my light work deck is the Herb Crafter's Tarot, and my shadow work deck is my Nicoletta Ciccoli Tarot. So let's start with the light deck, the Herb Crafter's Tarot. Again, Virgo sign, earth sign. I like all things outdoors. I like plants. I like the earth. I like flowers. I like herbal medicine. I'm into that stuff. It speaks to me. So this deck is just something very, very special. There are no people except for the hands in some of the court cards. Like, here you go, the curandera of air. Curandera. Even my pronunciation is off. I'm ready to go to bed. But you see their hands. You don't see a body. You don't see a face. So it's not very distracting. But other than that, it's just landscapes. Like, here you have the Madre of water. And it's oats. So each card has its own herb or plant. And in the guidebook, it talks about why they chose that plant for that card. Then we have the curandera of earth. And then the hijas. The hijas are pages. The curanderas are the knights. The madres are, or mothers, are the queens. And then, well, of course I'm freezing. We'll come up on it in a minute. But there's another card that represents grandmothers, and they are the kings. But anyway, the guidebook talks about why they chose that plant or herb. It talks about how you can use that plant for your own plant magic. If you are a a self-acclaimed kitchen witch, you can use some of these herbs and spices and plants to do rituals or to create your own healing. This feels like if you were somewhere in a cozy cottage and you're sitting around a table with your tias and your abuelas and your mom, and they were all teaching you the magic that plants provide, and learning about the earth and how to exist within it and how to make magic. It's so cool. It's so cool. So I don't necessarily, why haven't I found a single one? I don't necessarily jive with the word. I have lied to you this whole time. Yep, that's the problem. Okay, let's try this again. So we have, because I gotta fix this before I go any further. So we have the hijas, which are the daughters, which are the pages. Then we have the adelitas, which are the knights and warriors. Then we have the madres, which are the mothers. And then we have the curanderas, which now I'm forgetting the literal translation of curandera. But anyway, we're chatting. Okay. So you have hijas, which are daughters, adelitas, which are warriors, madres, which are mothers, and curanderas, which are healers. And they're more like grandmother figures. So anyway, family magic, earth magic, learning from your elders, learning from those who have come before you, becoming close, like hanging out in the kitchen with your tias, with your madres, with your abuelas, and they're making all this food fresh from the earth. It's just magical and special, and I love it. So, Lightwork deck, the Herb Crafter's Tarot. Finally, we have the Shadowwork deck, the Nicoletta Ciccoli Tarot. I almost got rid of this deck. I almost sold it recently because I hadn't used it very much until I watched Lisa Pepez's video going through and kind of talking about her work with the deck. These are the backs. And now I can't get rid of it. This deck is definitely uncomfortable for some people because you have these little like doll figures and toys, and it's kind of creepy. But when you read into the imagery, when you kind of attune what you're actually seeing and kind of depart a little bit from what you know the cards to mean, it is a very, very incredible deck. And I kind of really, as I said, I really wanted to keep it after watching Lisa Pepez's video on it. That kind of convinced me to turn right around. Oh, hello. To turn right around and take her out of my rehome pile. And I'm very glad she's here to stay. She's very good for inner child work, I think, and inner child healing, kind of working through those early developmental years when you know, lots of us have stories from that time in our lives, right? And this deck I found is very, very helpful. And even through now, like current shadow work, obviously you can still use it. But yeah. Like the way that she talks about the kings is really, really great. So if you have this deck, or even if you don't have this deck, but you can stomach maybe watching a video about it, I would definitely suggest Lisa's video. But this is my shadow work deck, the Nicoletta Ciccoli Tarot. I thought about getting the Oracle too, but I haven't jumped on that bandwagon yet. I found lately I've been wanting a lot of oracles. Like I've been into finding those more so than tarot. I don't know what's wrong with me. So that is it. That wraps up my deck collection for this video. a lovely VR to Marlena, in which we talk about taking tarot to the extreme. Wow, am I a newscaster now? I think so. I'm just gonna go ahead and stack all my decks back up because, you know, art, right? Anyway, I hope you enjoyed walking through this with me. I hope you enjoyed my selections and seeing kind of my thought process behind some of my favorite decks. I hope you weren't bored. I hope you weren't annoyed with the rambling. If you don't know my rambling by now, I don't know what to tell you. I can't even fit them all in frame. Well, anyway, that is it. Thank you guys again so much for watching. Thank you to Marlena for creating this really, really fun tag. And until next time, bye guys.